Hey, welcome to I guess this is April 1st, 2025 session of um, TAPR-HamSCI technical session. My name is Dave, KB0S, and this week, let's see, I've been doing some fiddling with some timing chips, and I've also been cleaning and uh, a few other things like that. So that's about it for me. Next on the list, we have Nathaniel, W2 NAF. Go ahead.
Thanks, Dave. I've been continuing with all my projects and classes and things like that. And this past weekend, W3USR went on the CQWPX contest, and we had a good time doing that. So back to net.
Very good. Next on the list is Dave, KD0 EAG. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. I haven't done anything very profound as usual, but plugging away at this and that, and really nothing y'all want to hear about right now, I don't think. So back to y'all.
Okay. Next on the list is Clint, KA7OEI. Go ahead, Clint.
Hi, quick. I don't have anything relevant to ham radio for this week, so I'll send it back to you.
Okay. Next on the list is Dave Julian, WB9YIG. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, evening, folks. Not much going on. Just trying to get ready for the next round of severe weather. We had some last night or night before rather, and then more Wednesday. So that's about all. Back to the net.
Okay. Next on the list is Dave, W6OQ.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Not much happening on amateur radio for me this week. That's about it. Thanks.
Okay. Next on the list is David McGaw, N1HAC. Go ahead, David.
Good evening, everyone. Well, we've had some excitement over the past week. First, I had a bunch of tree work done, opened things out, so maybe I can play with a few more antennas, only to have them drop a piece of a tree on my primary, the amplified loop, so I had to put that back together. And then we just had a fairly major ice storm. Not much damage here, but other parts of the region got as much of a half an inch of ice. I got about 2/10 of an inch. So there's excitement abound, that, but no major damage to antennas so far. So I'll take that and keep on trucking. Back to net.
Okay. Next on the list is Franco, K4VZ. Go ahead, Franco.
Hey, good evening, everyone. This week I made this update to the TRX Duo, which is the Red Pitaya clone, to the new version of the kernel and everything. Use the Red Pitaya notes from Pavel Deming, and I was just discussing with Dave and with you how it's possible to implement the so-called HPSDR Protocol 2, and so that's why I'm working on next. And then I got my ticket for the convention, so I'll be there, guys.
Very
See you
good.
in Zena. Eh?
Yes. Looking
Back
forward
to you,
to it. Okay. Next on the list is Jonathan, KC3EEY. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. It was quite an exciting week for me. One thing that I definitely wanted to mention was the partial solar eclipse, and the cool effect that I observed. So for I imagine for most people, obviously, it was This eclipse was only in a small area of the United States, so not a lot of people got to enjoy it. Unfortunately, Saturday morning when I went outside, I had my glasses ready to go, but during the whole thing, there was a cloud right in the way, and it was a thick cloud too. And even though that the clouds were moving and most of the sky was clearing, that cloud just stayed right there. So I was disappointed. However, I observed something quite exciting, which I can't wait to share. So this is a amplitude and phase plot of NAA in Cutler, Maine, and you can see in the amplitude plot this little bump right here. So this little bump right here, this is the effect of the partial solar eclipse. And you notice that the peak is, it does not align to the peak of the eclipse here, or even the peak at Cutler, but a different time, which I believe is around the midpoint of the propagation path. So yeah, this peak right here was really exciting. Now, what was even more exciting here, this middle plot, this is the carrier phase, or the phase measured with respect to a GPS reference. And what we notice right here is a little dip in phase, which is around 40-50 degrees. And this happened at totality. So this was quite an exciting observation because of this little dip in phase. So I was really thrilled. I mean, obviously it's not as pretty, of course, as the one from April 8th, but this is definitely a very nice observation. And speaking of that, in the VLFgroups.io, Peter in Scotland and Marcus in Germany also observed NAA and also TFK, which was also showed some very nice effects. So they also saw those effects in Europe. Marcus, his VLF receiver is in Germany, and Peters is in Scotland. So they saw a little bit more of a profound effect, of course, because their propagation path is much different. But it was really cool, and there was even an S-shaped Doppler curve observed from someone on their grape, which was really cool. It was a fairly small S-shaped curve, but it was there. So very exciting in terms of the solar eclipse, and I'm sure other people's grapes, depending on where they were, also observed that S-shaped curve. Also, I'm working on some slides that give pictorial information on the data products that come from the VLF system. So this includes raw data, natural radio events, SID observations like with VLF transmitters, and time of group arrivals of spherics. So those are the four primary data products. And for everyone's ease of use, I know Bill isn't here. But when the time comes to actually ingest these data products and display them and make them available, this is so people know what data comes from the VLF system. Because I've talked about it at length, but I figured what I could do is I could make a PowerPoint that's fairly easy to read, fairly pictorial, just so people kind of have a better idea, and have something in front of them which shows them what data products are actually available. I'm also Bob N5BRG. I wanted to thank you for your email. I still have to reply, but your suggestion was the key, and I was able to get routes to connect to vias like they should. The particular via that I was interested in, that I wanted to connect, it was in the wrong net, so I had to change it to the right net, and it connected. So Bob, thank you as always. You are such a wonderful help, and but I do plan on replying to your email. So work continues further. That's all I have. Back to the net.
Okay. Next on the list is Bob N5BRG. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, hello, everybody. My activity lately has been working on my HF antenna. I have a step IR antenna, and those things have a habit of having the little motors go out or go haywire and needing to be reworked, probably on a too frequent basis. But that's been my project this week here, and that and family activities. So that's all I have. Back to you, Dave.
Okay. Next on the list is Michael AC0G. Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry about that. I was planning a trip. Good evening, everybody, and thanks for being here. I've not had a terrifically busy week. I've had a gremlin in my network that I haven't entirely identified or imprisoned or otherwise expunged or exorcised from my local network. Nathaniel, I think I mentioned that I had a flaky RX-888, kind of commiserating with your loss of an RX-888, and it looks like that 888 has bitten the dust. I'm not getting any useful information out of it, so I'm actually really hesitant to buy more 888s, to be honest. Anyway, I still have 4 functional ones, 3 here in Missouri and 1 up in North Dakota at my mom's house. So I'm trying to make the best use out of those that I can. Glenn and Elmer and I and Dave Witten are continuing, and others are continuing to work on antennas. There are still plans afoot to get a couple of Glenn's single antenna systems deployed up in northwestern Missouri on a farm, hopefully nice and quiet and remote. That's still in play. I will not be at Dayton, sad to say, in that regard, but happy to say, because I'll be in Cleveland at my son's graduation from Case Western that same weekend. So
Very good.
back to net.
Yep.
I have one question.
Yes.
And it's probably more of a question for Rob Robinette or Phil Karn. What's the possibility of porting K9Q radio and Whisper Demon to work with, say, an Edis USRP instead of an RX 888?
I would think it's possible.
Because we're planning on putting these receivers down in Antarctica, and with the amount of failures we're seeing with the RX 888, I'd rather I have the budget to put Edis's down there and like good equipment. So if we don't have to go cheap, it might be better to, for Antarctica to go big because we can. And
I think that's makes a lot of sense.
so we should,
And Bill has already modified the code to a degree
yeah.
to enable people who want to write independent drivers to do so.
Yeah, so
For instance, Soapy and some others. So
so
I
maybe we
think
should,
that's not far afield.
and so if there's someone who's willing to do that porting, I could get that hardware to them so they could do some testing on it. But like I definitely I'd rather put down, in the original proposal we wrote that we were going to put Edis's down there, and I'd rather put stuff that's you know appropriate to the environment rather than
I'd communicate directly with, the way to expedite this most efficiently would be to communicate directly with Phil and say, look,
okay.
I want to deploy
Yeah,
a really standard high reliability radio down there.
yeah,
Can we get the software running to support that? I think he would be happy to do that.
okay. I'll work on that.
Very good.
Is there Edis available with HF coverage?
Well, it's the Edis N200s and N210s. You can get daughter boards that do HF.
Oh, okay, the older one's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next on the list is Scott, N5TNL. Go ahead, Scott.
Hey, not much to say. Work interfered with my hobbies this week, so no progress to report. And back to net.
Okay. And next on the list is Thomas, KE2BAC. Welcome, Thomas.
Hi, yeah, thank you. We were keeping busy here at the University of Scranton. We had contesting this weekend, so I spent some time at the station doing some contesting. It was really nice. We had a lot of new people that are getting into radio, so we were able to teach them the ropes of contesting. In terms of teaching our class at the Lackawanna Blind Association, we're on week 21 of the Handy Hams material. So we're getting closer to getting them their technician license and starting to take practice tests. So that's all going really well. And then for my project, I started developing a 3-year roadmap for the interface that'll help those who are blind and visually impaired and other hams to use the radio. So I've been working on developing a roadmap for that this week. That was something I worked on. Back to net.
Okay. Next on the list is Tom, N5EG. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, good evening, Dave, everybody in the group. It's been moving week again. Another week or so of that, and about 27 van loads got moved this week. So still working. It's kind of killed most of the progress on the project. Back to the group.
Okay. Well, we feel for you, Tom. Okay, I think that's the end of the list. We have a smaller group today. So open for general discussion.
I think Tom was interested in sharing some of his ideas that he's sketched out for the auditory interface for the blind and visually impaired, and he's written them down on a sheet of paper or on a Word document, and you might be interested in talking to people about it and getting some more feedback.
Yeah, that would be great if I could just figure out how to share my screen. Okay. Okay.
There you go.
So this is my 3-year plan so far that I've been developing. So year one, we kind of wanted to explore all the different APIs and different text-to-speech softwares to see what might be the best for our project. One thing I've been considering when highlighting them and putting them down is do they need internet access to use these APIs? and what companies are they associated with, or what is their software that they're contingent on. So I noted some of these down here. So I'm definitely going to be exploring those in the first in that first year, you know, playing with a few different ones, seeing which ones are the best for our use case. I noted throughout all of the planning stages, we're going to work with hams who are blind and visually impaired, hams that may have any other disabilities, experts in the occupational therapy field. We're going to work with some of them at the University of Scranton, and people in the community. So we're going to try to get as much insight as we can when we're developing this interface. So that's something that we want to keep throughout all of the years, really. Throughout each year of the project, we want to make sure that we stay with the community the whole way through. So that's kind of some of the planning for year one. Some of the core functions I want to develop for that, for the KA9Q SDR, are like a squelch filter. You know, being able to say, all right, hey Elmer, increase the squelch on the radio, or you know, hey Elmer, let's control the lower the volume, stuff, simple functions like that. Band control, frequency control, maybe go, you know, step up the frequency, increase our step for each time we want to go up or down. A seek function, a mute function, and maybe some favorites or presets. So that's kind of like all in the roadmap for year one. Year two is something that we are still trying to figure out and explore a little bit. We definitely want to do more advanced integration commands using the KA9Q dashboard that should be developed a little more by that time. So then we could do stuff like, hey, put us on the best frequency to reach someone in Japan right now, or list some active stations on this band, or what is the best band to reach Europe at this time. So, you know, being able to reach use some of that data that we have anyways, why not get some use out of it and enhance everyone's radio experience? So that's some of the voice command integration we want to work on in year two, some more advanced functions. But then we are also considering working on the tactile dock. So this dock would be like a buddy system for your KA9Q radio, and for, you know, the audio interface. It will sit on your desk. And we are right now exploring different off-the-shelf solutions for this. For example, there are companies that make tactile displays. I don't know how this is with links and stuff, so I could link it in the chat after I finish talking. So they make tactile displays that might be very helpful to throw a waterfall on the tactile display, so they can kind of feel, you know, the different frequencies and what's going on the radio. We also want to include like larger buttons and simple controls. So even though you're using the audio interface as your main controller, you have some control over the radio as well. So if you want to manually, you know, turn the knob and change the frequency, we'll have a bigger knob that's maybe a little more tactile and easier to understand if you can't see what's going on. And the same thing with like larger buttons, like maybe a push to mute, you know, volume up, volume down. But doing stuff like that are all like a part of our plan, but we're still exploring what options we can use from off the shelf to, one, decrease the price of everything, and two, you know, make it as widely available for everybody. So that's what we're planning on doing year two. And then year three is just a combination of year one and year two, you know, working out some of the kinks, you know, getting a lot of feedback from the community, combining the KNIQ with the fully developed dock at this point, adding some more features to the auditory interface, and just overall, you know, tying up all the loose ends. So that's what our roadmap is looking like right now. I'd love to hear what everyone has to say about it. So back to you guys. Back to Matt.
Okay.
So, Tom, as a side project, I'm working on something called another radio called Zygo X6100. And they wrote an alternative firmware for their radio, which uses an audio interface called RH Voice. Are you familiar with that? And it's basically a way to control the radio for blind people, basically, because it allows for them to hear the command. So you can turn it on and hear, you know, switching to 7010 kilohertz or something like that. So it's a nice way to hear that. And the radio is the Zygo X600, 6100. If you want, I can send you the link to the project I'm referring to.
Yeah, I would definitely like to check it out. One of the main things we noticed when looking into this project and talking to people who are blind and visually impaired hams are a lot of it is kind of like in the style of screen readers right now. So a lot of the tech that's out there, and I'm not super read up on RH voice specifically, but a lot of the options that we have accessible to us now are very much still dependent on something being on a screen to then like read it out. So it'll use that the screen to then read what's going on. Where ours is going to be more of a enhancement in a way that'll also help other hams. And once we have access to the greater data, I think that'll really work out.
Franco, what were your experiences with RH voice?
So basically, the Arc voice is a free software, doesn't require any license. It's written by Russian, but it's free, and allows you to basically control every message in audio. So that the blind people, the person who's unable to see the screen, can hear a message. When you change frequency or when you change tone and so on. I was looking for a YouTube video if I can find it in this time, so I can send you the link and you can see what it looks like. But the software itself, I mean, the firmware I'm working on, it's all free, so I'll send you the link to the repo too. But if you want to see the actual effect, what it looks like, I'll try to find you a YouTube link so you can see it, which speaks much better than I can explain here.
Yeah.
Makes sense, Nathaniel?
Yeah. I'm looking at the RH voice website right now.
Right. Oh, okay. You already found it. Okay.
Yeah, I found it. So I mean, have you actually did you work with it much or at all? Like, what were your impressions of it?
Sorry, let me say better. The software was written by a couple of guys. I've been porting the software to build root and other things, so I'm familiar with the software. I didn't write anything, but I can definitely, provide some assistance to how it works and how the firmware is configured. I mean, the firmware is open source. I'm going to send you a link to the repo so you can take a look at how they use it.
I think one of the things that we're trying to figure out is, does it make sense? So I guess RH voice it's open source and you can download the entire thing and it doesn't rely on an internet connection.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say this runs on my radio on the Zygo 600 that I here without any internet connection, so you can put it in the field. You can have it here in the field, and it's in all here, so it speaks without having to anything.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think that's the same radio Gerard has, Tom.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, I think one of the things we were debating is going with a package, I guess, kind of like RH voice where everything is just downloadable and it's fully self-contained, versus going like Tom had found some other cloud-based voice services which would require an internet connection but might have more capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, so the part from text to speech is easy because the text is very easy to convert to speech because you just need a vocoder.
Right.
The vice versa, Nathaniel, is tricky because you have to have something that understands voice. I don't know if it makes sense,
Yeah, it does make very much so.
Yeah. So that part this radio is not capable. I mean, perhaps there are solutions, but it's not what I was talking about. I'm talking about from text to speech,
Okay. All right. So our RH voice is just from text to speech, not from speech to text.
Yeah, the other way is not yet here or it's not here.
Yeah. I think that's a feature that we really want to have is to have the speech to text.
Right. Yeah. That's I can try to look, but it's not. It's not there.
Yeah. So Tom, you had a list of different packages you were looking at, right?
Yeah.
But can you bring that list up again?
Sure. Or do you want me to put it in a chat?
Either way. or both? I think you just share it on the screen.
Okay. Share. Okay, now I just have to scroll. Oh, here we go. So yeah, this section here.
Yeah. Does anyone have any experience or on it with any of these or any comments on them?
I don't have experience, but I just was browsing around in GitHub. There's several different folks that have worked on things, and you can see examples. But you could, if you have it, once you begin to get recognition to work a little bit in C or C++, you could interface that with HamLab and control just about any of the radios you want to control.
Yeah.
And I've worked with HamLab myself some.
So you're saying that on top of using it for the SDR that we plan on we plan on using, we could also find a way to integrate our API with HamLab, and we could control an off-the-shelf ICOM, for example.
Yeah, HamLab is a ham library of interfaces for most popular ham radios, and the controls that are available within the radios are already written in most cases. So you would you just have to learn the interface there and feed it the different controls you want to adjust or set. Frequency is a very common one, though, changing the frequency. I'll post one thing that I found, if I can get it to link over here in a minute in the chat.
Yeah, I know last week we were debating whether to go with that approach to do the HamLab or to go with something that or just to go with a K9Q radio.
Well, HamLab gives you a broader exposure to different radio types.
Right.
That might be worth something to put in like year 3 or maybe the latter half of year 2 to start like experimenting in that maybe.
Yeah, I think we should talk a little bit more about the timeline a little more carefully.
Mm-hmm.
Are you available tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., Tom?
Oh, no, I have class.
Okay, you have class. All right.
Nathaniel, the other thing I was thinking is there is a group called the CQ Blind Hams. Have you reached out to them? I have a contact with one of them if you need to.
We haven't reached out to CQ Blind Hams, but we are working with Handy Hams.
Okay, because CQ Blind Hams, they have every month a Zoom or whatever they have that they attended a few times where they talk about exactly this kind of topics.
Okay. Yeah,
So
we've been.
I can send you the name of the person that I was emailing a bit ago.
Okay. Yeah, right. I have their website here. So far, yeah, we've been working with Handy Hams and Lucinda Moody.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
But there's a lot of different people out there doing stuff.
Yeah, I'm familiar with them because the one that I interacted with, well, the name was Robert. Let me see if I can find the name. Because they may also be able to tell you what they would prefer to you. I don't know, what kind of Robert Carter.
Okay. Robert Carter.
NC5R. Yeah, let me send you.
NC5R.
Yeah. NC5R at iCloud. Yeah, so let me see. Yeah, so let me see.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Franco.
Yeah, there could be, give you an idea. I send you the email that I have, the address I have for him, and see if I.
Tom, do you want to just put that in your Word document there so we can keep
The
his
email or
name, email, and call?
yeah, I'm just gonna have like a bunch of whoops.
Down in
At
the
the
parking
bottom, I'm
lot.
just gonna put a bunch of stuff, a bunch of links.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was. Okay.
The one thing they were saying, I heard they saying, is that they like to have a command line interface because for many of them, it's for us that have vision, it's hard to tell. It's much easier to type, say, instead of telling a voice, tune to 7010, just to type 7010F, or whatever command, because they are very fast with keyboards because they use them a lot. So that's sometimes to consider as another option besides voice. I don't know.
So, one thing I might recommend is that some of those things that were listed up there look like they might be not well supported. And I noticed, the Google thing, even though it's, some sort of fee for service, it might be that the amount, that you'd need to use of the service would be so low that it would be very cost effective and high performance. So, I mean, you should definitely look at that. I mean, sometimes this, charge for things is like if you're going to use it for some sort of a phone answering system or something that's, require a lot of work where, one guy talking to it, you might get by. I think some of them even have like a free monthly amount forever.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to check it out. I've heard a lot of good things from Google Cloud, so I'll definitely that's probably one of the ones I really want to look into a little more.
And the annual fee or the annual cost or monthly cost or whatever might be fairly low for the application you're looking at. One person talking to it sometime. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like almost nothing when you go to Google Cloud.
Yeah. Those are all good considerations. One thing I kind of like the idea, Tom, if we do make it work with HamLib, then it does immediately work with lots of different radios. That's one. And number two, there will be standard, I guess there's going to be standard commands that HamLib accepts. And so if you just start by implementing those, you have a concrete list of usable commands that could be used in HamLib and then also can be used with the then can also be implemented with KA9Q radio.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And one thing I really do like about using like the HamLab is the idea that the users will be allowed to transmit, which is really the only unfortunate bit about KA9Q radio that they can't transmit. So I think that it'll be nice, if we're able to do both. Well, one, because KA9Q is very, everyone could use KA9Q radio, not everybody has a full station at home. So it's nice doing it for the K9Q, but then also, you know, adding it with the hand lib, so then people can transmit if they do have a nicer station. So it's nice doing both. I agree.
Yeah. And it looks like HamLib is released under the GPL. So it's all open source.
With something like Hamlib, you probably have a limited set of commands. So you may not even need AI to just tell you what to do. So you may be able to work without a cloud if that's a requirement to have.
Yeah.
I mean, once a user trains the program, it probably is able to recognize those commands like that.
I agree.
Another interesting approach could be to use a keyer to actually send the command, since many people in M radio are familiar with that.
Yeah, that is true too.
Yeah.
So you could CW and just send the command that way. I don't know if it's
Ooh. So many options.
you're a PhD student with a tenure.
No. I am
No.
just about to get my undergrad in electrical engineering in a few months.
Oh, okay. So
So
why a
here,
3 years plan, huh?
Yeah. I'm sorry, did you ask why?
A 3 years plan. When I saw the timeline, I thought you were working on some longer project, some longer degree, I should say.
well, that's the goal. Just wouldn't be for a degree. It'd be creating a research engineer position.
No, I got you. Okay. And the idea to go with this kind of topic is because you got requirements. I mean, requirements. Someone is asking for that specific need.
Yeah, we have a project where we're working with the Lackawanna Blind Association right now.
Oh, okay.
So we're working with some local people, a local organization that asked us to come and teach them ham radio. And Tom's been helping to teach on that project. And we've been working and he's really enjoyed the project. And this just seemed like it would be a good thing to do.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah.
Here,
Yeah, the tricky part.
PCMag.com has a article from it says the best speech to text apps and tools for 2025.
Yeah, the tricky part is, Nathaniel, how do you render a waterfall for someone that cannot see? I mean, I'm just puzzled by that.
Well, that's a really good question. We're talking a little bit about that today. Let me
In the chat, I'll put a link.
okay.
There's
Yeah,
one
this
of the
is
devices we're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah, that last link in the chat.
Oh, I see now. Yeah. Are those expensive? I mean, I kind of.
I don't know. They probably are. I sent I sent them an email today asking how much it costs.
Yeah.
They don't list the price on the website for that thing, and some of the other ones are very expensive. So
Because the nice thing about ham radio, you can do with as little money as you can. You figure out a way
yeah,
to
I
use
know.
something. I don't know. Eh?
But this device did look kind of cool. Like it looked like you have the potential of creating some sort of waterfall. I don't know what the refresh rate is on it.
Yeah.
It's a download product for sure. There's a product for sure. It's a 60 by 40 array.
Why is $1,400?
I don't know if that's true, but so this is saying. I'll have to see.
Feels like a radio.
See that
Yeah.
AI overview, I did that same search this morning for like the cost of it, and it told me $250 in the AI overview. I think the AI was not being truthful to me or was confused. I think the higher, because if you look on their website, they have these other devices that have like one line of Braille and it's like $900. So, and then they have a multi-line Braille device that's like $4,200. So this looks like they're kind of their flagship product, which looks absolutely amazing for what we're doing. But I have a feeling it's going to be out of our budget. It doesn't tell me their product brochure doesn't say anything about the refresh rate of these little pins, and it doesn't say anything about like if you can have different levels of heights, because I think that would be nice for a waterfall to have multiple height levels and to have a high refresh rate.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I'm looking what they have in AliExpress in case there's something interesting, but I don't see much.
You could do something as simple as put down 100 resistors side by side on a board and just run current through them and heat them up, depending on what the.
Oh, good point.
It's an interesting thought.
Last time I suggested, Franco, that they have the waterfall converted to tones, make the middle of the thing middle C, and then just let the other
Yeah.
channels just divide up the thing across there, kind of like octaves, and let it play music. And that way you would get used to from the sound which way you needed to go to match it.
If you're thinking thermal, you might use thermal printhead technology.
Good point. Yeah.
I haven't watched this YouTube video yet, but it popped up and I probably should watch it. It says low cost tactile displays for the blind and visually impaired. Uh,
Just throw that on our document to watch.
yeah, it's only 4 minutes. So.
Yeah.
Wait, do you want me to play it?
I'm okay if other people don't mind seeing it. I might pause the recording for a minute in case there's any like, what do you call it? Well, YouTube can figure out if there's copyright issues or not.
Okay. So can you see it?
Yes.
Can you hear it? Now that's the next question.
You have to hit share under your share button. There's a way you can share sound and you can optimize for video.
Share sound. Okay, optimize video share. Okay. Okay, so now can you hear it? Can you see it still?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
To describe what comes to mind when you think of technology for the blind, I probably
Can
would
you
have
hear it?
imagined, someone who's
Yes.
most of
Okay.
their life who is using something like a braille display, which is a technology they would learn to use as soon as they could after the onset of blindness. In fact, for the roughly 250 million or so people worldwide with moderate to severe visual impairment, the majority of them, their impairment arises from age-related medical conditions. Due to a growing and globally aging world population, the number of visually impaired people is expected to continue to rise, and an even greater fraction of this population is going to be there due to age-related causes. We live obviously in a very technological world. Accessible technology allows visually impaired individuals a higher quality of life and a greater degree of independence. To understand how we can make a difference for this growing segment of the population that suffers from age-related visual impairments, we really need to see what is available today. Audio is by far the most widespread assistive modality for vision loss. The major benefit of audio is it can be implemented fairly easily with current technology, off-the-shelf technology, but unfortunately it doesn't cover all the use cases. Firstly, studies show that people are reluctant to draw attention to their disability, whether due to self-consciousness or privacy concerns or safety concerns. So the device that kind of advertises to everyone around you, hey, I'm visually impaired, is not always desirable. Secondly, with regard to aging, vision loss is frequently accompanied by, of course, hearing loss. By age 70, it's estimated it's going to affect about 10 to 20% of us, and of course it's not going to get any better as we age. In the tactile world, by far the most dominant version is Braille in its various forms. Braille has been and continues to be very important to the blind community. It's efficient and versatile, but it is a very difficult undertaking for someone to learn an entirely new code of communication late in life, especially vision loss occurs gradually. And Braille, of course, tends to be quite costly. To state our design problem more clearly, we want a solution that's very compact, small enough for wearables that are taken outside the home where audio technology has the most limitations, something that's inexpensive at low to medium production volumes. A tactile device like this will never have an iPhone-level market because, they can truly harness the economies of scale. And it should have little to no learning curve to facilitate adoption by people who develop visual impairment in late life and are unable or unwilling to learn a whole new writing system like Braille. It's obvious that the cost of a tactile solution scales with the number of actuators needed to operate it. Braille is actually the most efficient such solution. It's essentially a binary code, but that's what makes it a little harder to learn. On the other end of the spectrum, we have dot matrix displays. They're the most versatile, can display almost anything with enough resolution, but actuator density and quantity scales accordingly. The multi-segment display is something that should be familiar to everyone here. It's in countless electronic devices, can represent anywhere from the set of numbers and some letters with the basic 7-segment display to the entire alphanumeric alphabet with 14 to 16 segments. It's easily recognizable without having to learn a whole new encoding, but it does allow us to use fewer actuators compared to something like a dot matrix display. It's also familiar to everyone, which kind of supports the notion that a tactile version would be usable with little to no prior training. We're envisioning a straightforward path to tactile versions of existing devices, watches, fitness trackers, health monitors, certain medical devices such as glucometers, and eventually perhaps appliances and communication devices. Another interesting idea to bring up here is the idea of hybrid visual and tactile feedback. Once you have a tactile version, it's fairly trivial to have segments that both rise and illuminate as they rise. So our typical end user might be someone who is starting to encounter age-related vision loss. They begin by focusing primarily on the visual feedback, and then as their vision worsens, they transition to tactile. As part of this validation project, we're extending this design philosophy to the rest of the device. We're trying to not only build out the rest of the system and produce a fully functional prototype, but to do it in a way that can directly transition to existing manufacturing processes if a licensee or a spin-out decides to put these in a product. Although we built these initial prototypes using our fancy in-house fabrication tools, one of the things we've budgeted for is to engage external vendors as much as possible and to replace our in-lab manufactured components with components that are manufactured in the way they will be in a commercial product. To summarize, we're developing a multi-segment tactile technology that primarily targets age-related vision loss. It can replace or augment alphanumeric readouts in accessible products. We place a heavy emphasis on minimizing cost and having a path to manufacturing. Once we nail down these design parameters for the characters, this will allow us to freeze the microactuator design and to pave the way for a full system prototype in 2020.
Okay, I don't think that really helps us.
No,
Not at all.
it was a nice talk, but it isn't on topic.
Yeah.
I sent you a link I found with a comparison between 4 or 5 of those with some prices to get an idea. But I suspect that if someone is blind, they may already have one of those. So maybe the application should be able to connect to one of those. So they wouldn't be used specifically for this specific case, I suspect.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, the main thing we found out in working with people who are blind and visually impaired are, since a lot of them do develop it later on in life, many people don't actually read Braille. So I would be very interested to see how many of them
Oh,
own these devices.
I don't know. Yeah.
No one has come up out of the 5 people in our class, the 5 clients. I haven't seen any of them have any sort of technology like this.
Okay.
And nobody has brought this up. Tom, what is your schedule tomorrow?
Let me see. Tomorrow is Tuesday.
It is
I have
Tuesday.
class from 9 a.m. to 5:30.
Is that all?
Oh yeah, no big deal. Yeah.
No big deal. Okay. Yes. All right. Sounds good. Well, how about this? I think, Tom, why don't you just send me what you have? And I'm going to look at it first thing tomorrow morning. And I might try making some, I'll see. I'll work on it some more and think about it a bit more. I am interested in this idea of including the HamLib integration to it to some extent, because I think that would be very straightforward to implement, and it could work well with the hardware, with a wide variety of hardware. And we already have, we have like the nice ICOMs, the 7610s and the ICOM 7300s at W3USR that we could test it with, and we can have the clients come over and try to use it, learn how to use it as well. So like that's nice that have a standard API. And then I think trying to look for, and then after we do that, integrating it with the integrating it with making it also work with KN9Q radio. I think I am really not sure what the best speech to text technology would be to use. I think it would have to be one that runs on Linux for one thing, or is capable of running on Linux.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds good. I think again we still have to do a bunch of research, and we'll probably have to try a few different ones and see which ones work out the best for our use case.
I think you're right.
I can make a couple of other comments here. What happens when they talk about later in life to a lot of folks is you end up with diabetes as you get older, and with diabetes you can end up with macular degeneration, and and the concept there is that you can eventually go blind. Now there's a world of treatments for people today to help you out with that and to help prevent it if you can recognize it early. So if anybody is having a high A1C reading, and you should know what your A1C reading is, which is an average of your blood sugar level over 3 months. And you can investigate all of this stuff on your own. But then there are clinics where there are ophthalmologists that specialize in this field in macular degeneration and other eye diseases. And it would be a great place to advertise such a tool if you ever get one, because people will go there while they can still see, but yet they know they're moving in this direction. And they would be able to, if they could learn the tool prior to losing their vision, it could be a great aid or simplify the process a great deal. And anyway, those are some of my thoughts on it.
That sounds good. I found, let's see. So doing a Google search for speech to text on Linux, that looks like it might come up with some useful things here. So they talk about something called SPCH, CAT, and voice to JSON, and they're both, it looks like they are, so it looks like there are some offline AI powered or command line tools that might be useful. And there's also something called Caldy, an open source speech recognition software written in C++, known for its modularity and extensibility. So there might be some things that can run right on the computer that don't require the cloud and don't require an API key or something like that.
Keep having other ideas. I have to mention sometimes the blind folks have special keyboards too that they work with, or other devices, and it would be possible to end up needing a driver to go from their device into HamLab. And HamLab is well suited for that as well.
This looks very promising. Tom, voice to JSON. It's a collection of command line tools for offline speech intent recognition on Linux, and is free, open source, and supports up to 18 human languages.
Okay.
And you can, it's all like, look, you can pipe wave files in and do all this, inline processing, and then it can turn it into a JSON object that you can then pipe into something else. So this looks very nicely structured for doing voice commands. Voice to JSON is optimized for sets of voice commands that are described well by a grammar, commands with uncommon words or pronunciations, and commands or intents that can vary at runtime. This looks kind of perfect, actually. It can be used to add voice commands to existing applications or Unix style workflows. That's exactly what K9Q Radio is. Provide basic voice assistant functionality completely offline on modest hardware, and bootstrap sophisticated, and this is perfect, and it can bootstrap more sophisticated speech intent recognition systems. So it looks like it can actually combine with more complicated things too. This looks really good. And then the other one was speech cat. Command line tool that reads an audio from WAV files to microphone or system audio and converts any speech found into text. So I think we could write things like we would use offline speech to text recognition software such as speech chat and voice to JSON. And what is this licensed as? License. MIT license. That's like MIT license is pretty much ideal because you're allowed to do anything you want with it. How about this one? Mozilla Public License version 2. That's also, I'm not as familiar with it, but it's probably a reasonable, it would probably work for what we want to do also. Have to read that more carefully. But okay, so I think the point is there are very viable, it looks like there are some viable options that will do the speech to voice capabilities without a cloud-based service and without any sort of like licensing fee. That'd be very, I'm not sure what the other one was, Caldy. And this Caldy looks possible too. And HamLib is also open source.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. Would it be feasible to make a HamLib interface 4K A9Q radio?
Don't know. I've worked with it in the past, but it's been a long time and it's probably changed a lot. You know, the early days, it was just about cat commands mostly.
Right.
Probably evolved well beyond just that.
Mm-hmm. So it seems to me like a very like a reasonable way forward here would be in year one, we're going to just say we're gonna make one of these speech recognition programs work with HamLib to control commercial off-the-shelf systems like like the ICOM 7300 or the 7610, which we have around. And then that way people would be able to use those radios, control those radios directly. And has control HamLib with speech. Has anyone done this?
I did a look for that and I didn't see anything on it, but I wouldn't be
HamLib.
surprised to find out someone has worked on it. What I did with it was I was using SDR Angel, which is a
Okay.
software-defined radio package, and I wanted to use SDR Angel to work some digital modes, and so I developed a little interface to control SDR Angel with HamLab, and it turns out SDR Angel will accept commands in a like an HTTP type format. There's a certain name for that protocol. I forgot what it's called now, but you just send it a text string and you can control the SDR Angel. But I got in trouble in the long run because I couldn't make the software respond as fast as it needed to turn around for for our digital communication. And they weren't willing to bend on the time limitation that's built into HamLab. So I gave it up. But then that's since been solved by SDR Angel operating
Okay.
in a more efficient way.
So right. So immediately though we could use it doesn't look like anyone has done voice control of HamLib directly so far, at least by doing trivial searches. So that seems like it would be a very straightforward thing to do. And then
It'd be useful to the ham community if you did that in addition to the blind side of it.
right, so if you immediately do that, it's just a very straightforward kind of easy thing to implement. And then once you get that implemented, you could then go forward and say, okay, what's special about KA9Q radio that we can you know do extra things with this.
Well, see, what you would be faced with is doing what I was doing with SDR Angel. You would need an interface that would go into HamLab, and it has its own indexing or protocol for setting up additional radios. You would need an interface for K9Q radio. And then
Right.
all of a sudden, all the commands that are available in HamLab would control K9Q radio to the extent it was controllable.
Do you think you could be nice if Phil were here, because that would be a good discussion to have with him, because we could do the work plan where we say, okay, we're going to implement speech with HamLab first, and then that makes all these radios go, and then the next thing we do is we're going to make HamLab make a HamLab interface for KA9Q radio, and then boom, the work that you did at first also works with KA9Q radio.
Well, what I did wouldn't necessarily drop any work because I don't think the same Phil would have the same interface in his software.
Right. No. Yeah, no, I would think that we'd have to completely yeah, I don't know how the interface would work with Phil's software.
He does mention it in his documentation, and I was almost ready to take off and go understand that because I wanted to make his software interface with other things also. Expand his SDR library so that you could use other devices. But I didn't chase that rabbit though.
Would
It would probably require a lot of hand-holding on Phil's part because he doesn't have it all documented, or else you'll be studying the code trying to figure out what to do, which is not terrible, but it's a lot more work.
Yeah. Well, okay. I think I think I have enough information for tonight, and I think I'll get a good night's sleep, and I'll revisit it in the morning. Anything else from you, Tom?
No, it's been really nice hearing from everybody. I like a lot of the ideas. I still think we should explore a couple of the models I was looking at in the document for the speech to text. So I think we should explore a couple of those on top of the ones that you mentioned, because there are some that might just be the best model for this. And I'm also thinking that we were talking about, working with hams that have disabilities, not only hams that are also blind. So if you have like a disability and you have a really hard time even speaking, like we might really want a good, a good program for picking up what people are saying, because they might have not the best pronunciation on certain words and stuff.
Yeah.
I want to throw in one idea there too.
Yeah.
One thing happens to people that have a stroke is they lose the ability to speak. And then they end up working with speech therapists to try to regain their ability to talk and speak. And I've always wondered, if you knew Morse code and you were a ham, could you communicate without, because you can't control your voice, you can't swallow or do other things. And so I've told my family, if I ever have a stroke and I can't speak, be sure and get me a key and let me see if I can send you any Morse code. But it's almost like a research project to go figure out if somebody still has enough control over their hand or left. Usually the stroke affects one side of your body where you
Yeah.
can continue to communicate with someone.
Makes sense.
I've been around people that have had this happen. My mother had this happen, and I could tell that she understood and wanted to tell us something but couldn't do it. It's sort of like frustrating, I'm sure, to the person especially that's had the stroke.
That's good. Good insight. Thank you, Bob.
All right, I'm gonna say 73 for tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Thank you.